So if you don't know, synesthesia is when one of your senses gets triggered with something that doesn't necessarily make sense for that specific thing being triggered. So for example, for me, I can see sounds. So I get colors, patterns, that sort of thing through sound stimulus. And I feel like you also have synesthesia, which is why you get colors for things.
Yeah, I get feelings for colors.
So you have feeling synesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just recently read someone, which was wild. They told me that they have time and space synesthesia. Hi, I'm Em.
And I'm Liv. And we're your PsycKicks.
So today we're going to be talking about synesthesia and how it relates to mediumship. So I've been having a lot of people ask me lately about what is synesthesia and in relation to how they use their psychic abilities and what the colors mean and all of that sort of thing, because people have found that they have also had interactions or deal with synesthesia and they want to understand how it works for us as mediums so that they can try to relate it to how their gifts work as well. So if you don't know, synesthesia is when one of your senses gets triggered with something that doesn't necessarily make sense for that specific thing being triggered. So for example, for me, I can see sounds. So I get colors, patterns, that sort of thing through sound stimulus. And I feel like you also have synesthesia, which is why you get colors for things.
Yeah, I get feelings for colors.
So you have feeling synesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just recently read someone, which was wild. They told me that they have time and space synesthesia. And one of the things that they showed me, their spirit guides, is they can feel the energy within a space. It's almost like they can see and feel feng shui. So the way that they showed it to me, it was kind of like I was sitting in my basement and I could see the energy in the room as if it was a color and if it was almost like water. It was like my room was filled with water and it was blue and purple and I could see where it was flowing to as kind of like a river going through the like door and outside where I was in the location. But they can also feel time, so they can almost see time existing. So it's like they can see where time is going, they can see where energy is flowing. So that is another example of synesthesia. So synesthesia for us specifically deals with a lot of different colors, and in a mediumship way, those colors have different set meanings for us that help to indicate or guide the readings. So I wanted to go through each one of the colors and explain the meanings for us because they differ between us and they may differ between you, and it may give you different ideas about using colors as signs and symbols. So for me, usually when I do readings, I will get colors for spirit guides or I'll get colors for your people, and it just gives me indications of what they're about to talk about, or if it's a spirit guide, it'll give me indications of what they're here to do to help you. And that can change based upon the lesson that they're trying to explain. So to go through each one of the colors, red, for example, deals with safety and security for me. So usually in association to like spirit guides, we'll say, usually safety and security, spirit guides will show up for you when you don't feel safe and secure, and they represent themselves as a like security blanket. It's the things that you need to feel safe. So what does red mean to you?
Red for me also deals with safety and security, but it also doesn't, I feel like when I say safety and security, people might think that the emotion with red can be like comforting or closure, something that makes you feel that sense of safety and security, but it can also be the opposite. I can see spirit guides that will tell me red and then associate it to you, and it's not necessarily that you feel safe and secure, it's actually the opposite. It's panic, it's fleeting, it's fighting, stuff like that. So it just depends on the emotions that they give me associated with the color.
Yeah, well, it's the same for me because red is an association to safety and security. So if you don't feel safe and secure, it can have reactions of defensiveness or anger or things in response to having your resources taken. So usually when spirit guides come forward, they try to remedy that, or they tell me things associated to like how you are dealing with those things. So a lot of times it's trauma based in how to solve those things or how to address them. So orange for me deals with outward expression. So that can be creativity, it can be cleaning, it can be just working. It's literally doing something with your body. It's taking the thoughts in your head and expressing them throughout your body. So when a spirit guide comes forward that's orange presenting, that's usually in association to they're helping you to express something in your head or express some sort of energy that's going on behind the scenes and to get it out. So a lot of times that can be like someone talking about creativity, or it can be like they're helping you with a specific like life path journey detail. So what is orange for you?
Orange for me, it can also mean the same thing of outward expression of things. It's taking those inner ideas and expressing them outward, but it's expressing them to other people, not just for yourself, but for others or for a larger purpose. And it can also mean, depending on the emotions they convey to me, being super anxious. Like you don't know what to do, kind of like Scrat from Ice Age, where he's just like, at all points in time, like trying to get the little acorn. So it depends on how your loved ones or spirit guides convey that information to me when they show me that color.
So moving on to yellow. Yellow is for me like emotional intelligence, but it's also like figuring things out in your head. So a lot of times I'll get spirit guides that deal with like the Akashic records. They usually represent either like blue or yellow, but a lot of times they're yellow because they're dealing with the emotions and you figuring out what you want to do, figuring out things in your life. But a lot of times they are talking about how you are responding to emotional stimulus, how they can help you with understanding your emotions, or they're saying you're very clairsentient and are very good at understanding emotions, but it's very emotionally fueled or like figuring things out in your head. So
yellow for me is similar, but a little bit different. Yellow for me is emotional intelligence in the same sense of expressing things that are in your head, but outwardly in a validating way for you. So maybe you were super scared to wear a certain outfit because you really wanted to wear it, but you were nervous what other people would think about it. You're like, I'm just going to do it because it's going to make me feel something that's true or identifying with me. So you wear that outfit and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it. So like yellow is that expression for you and yourself and taking those ideas from your mind and using it to express yourself, whether it be physically, emotionally, verbally, whatever. Whereas orange, though, because I know it can be a little confusing, is expressing it with other people for something else, to act upon someone or something else. So yellow is to act upon yourself. But it's also, like I said, that emotional intelligence, and like Em said, of I can do these things for me, and it's a lot of like personal growth type things.
Okay, green. Green for me deals with physical understanding. So the way I like to the way I come about this idea is society has a very specific flow or like expectation of you, which doesn't necessarily make sense. It doesn't necessarily have like a logic base to it. And usually when spirit guides come forward that deal with green, they're helping you to understand why things are happening the way that they're happening. So people may have like weird responses to things that are more associated to what's physically going on with them, that are more tied to what's going on with them than is what's going on with you. And these green spirit guides talk about it in that sort of way. The way I like to explain it is it's kind of like capitalism. Capitalism doesn't really make any sense for like groups of people because there are certain groups of people that are in poverty because of it, and there's other groups of people that have so much money that it's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense to support the entire group, but these green spirit guides come in and they talk about this is what's going on, and now that you have this understanding, you can figure out what you're going to do about it. So what is green for you?
Green for me is physicality, but it's in the sense most spirit guides use green for me to represent helping someone, their person, whatever, understand the relationship between spirituality and physicality, that the two overlap and overlay and are very intertwined. You can't have one without the other because they do not exist separately. They exist intertwined. So usually when I get the color green, it's a very large, encompassing feeling of being grounded, but not grounded in the sense of you are singularly yourself in space, but being grounded in the idea that you are a part of something a lot larger, and that without you, no other portions of existence would be able to be by itself. So that's usually what green represents for me, and my spirit guides will show it to me. They're like, hey, you, person that I'm helping guide through this life, things are not as separated as they seem, and it's okay, because without doing this, you can't have that. It's sort of that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, like, if then you have but that type of scenario. So it's being connected and that things aren't as far apart as they seem.
Okay, blue. For me, blue is higher spiritual understanding. So what that means is it's kind of more in association to the things that are happening behind the scenes. It's like getting an overall perspective of everything and being able to see past what's physically in front of you. And this, a lot of times for me, is also like unconditional love. It's the thing that brings us all together. It's the thing that connects us to each other. So a lot of times if you have blue spirit guides or associations to blue, you like to understand everything. So like for me, my first spirit guide was Roth. He's a blue spirit guide, and it's because when I was a child, I was the why child. I was, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is it like that? That is the understanding that a lot of times creates the comfortability in bringing us all together. So blue for you.
Blue for me is a little similar. It also deals with understanding, but it's that higher spirituality of understanding. A lot of people in like, Western chakra thought, so like here in America, people think that the heart chakra is associated to the color green. But if you look at Eastern thought, Indian thought of chakra ideas, the heart chakra is actually blue because it's supposed to represent the limitless expansion of your soul, like the sky, which is equatable to love. Love is limitless. But it's so frustrating when people are like, love thy neighbor, love this, love that, love yourself. And you're like, it doesn't make any sense to me. That's because you can't have love without understanding. If you can understand yourself, others, and other things, then you can learn to appreciate and love them on a level that is ever expanding. Because an understanding of something cannot just be one thing. It can be limitless. You can continue understanding different aspects of someone, something, or a situation. So blue for me represents that higher spiritual understanding or emotional understanding of yourself, because you can understand others as well. So when we talked about yellow, for me, yellow is emotional intelligence of yourself, introspective, retrospective stuff of you that you express. But blue is that higher spiritual understanding of that. Love is limitless. It's just that you have to understand things in order to reach that point. And once you can, the sky is the limit.
Okay, purple. Purple for me deals with the mental space. It deals with psychic energy. It's very much the beyond the physical realm. So a lot of times when I get purple spirit guides, they deal with a lot of like mental stuff, dreams, maladaptive daydreaming, that sort of thing. And a lot of times with the colors as well, colors that have two that combine to make the color. So purple is red and blue. Blue is understanding. Red is dealing with safety and security. So you take understanding surrounding a lot of the traumas that are going on in your life, and that creates this space in which you are able to, it's like a space beyond here that helps you to understand what's going on in your life. So a lot of times these colors can also be associated to auras. So people that have purple auras, they don't necessarily see physical restriction. It's very much like the opposite of green in that sort of sense. So a lot of people, most people, if they come up to a wall, they say, this is a restriction, we can't do this anymore, we gotta go turn back and do something else. People with a lot of purple energy Or like, what do you mean? Why can't we just figure out a way to go over the wall? Purple energy is non-restrictive. It's beyond the physical restriction of existence, and it helps us to gain a better perspective on those restrictions. So that is the understanding, which is blue, and the restrictions, which is red.
For me, purple deals with psychic energy too. I usually have a lot of female spirit guides that step forward purple energy, not a lot of male ones. And if I do, their energy is much more like neutral or like gender fluid, I would say, feeling when it comes to spirit guides. And again, spirit guides don't have a gender because they're just energy. But for my like pea brain freaking mammalian consciousness, that makes sense to me. And for people that I'm conveying their spirit guides to. So purple is that psychic energy, but usually the way I feel it, synesthesia wise, is kind of like, I don't know, like the ebb and the flow of like waves, if that makes sense. But like a very misty sort of feeling, as if you were to walk through, you know, like wave pools, if you've ever been in a wave pool, or even just like the lake, or I don't know, something that has a tide. When you're standing in it, it usually like lifts your feet up a little bit and then puts you down, and lifts your feet up a little bit and puts you down, and you'll like move from one wave to the other. Imagine if you were in a wave pool of like this sort of transient purple mist. That is the clairsentient feeling that purple gives me, and that for me represents that psychic energy of, similar to what Em was saying, it transcends and goes over the walls of things, because at the end of the day there is walls, but it's based in physicality. So if you can get past those physical barriers of things, which we never will be able to fully get over, at least not in our physical lifetimes, but once you can, it's that higher sort of just flow of things. And that's just like that's the only way I can really describe purple energy. It's very mystifying, but also chill at the same time. It's pretty cool.
Okay, pink. For me, pink is protective, empathetic love. So usually when people have a lot of pink energy, it is usually representative of someone that is a caretaker or a people pleaser. A lot of times those are the people that understand or are very empathetic towards other people's hardships, emotions, that sort of thing. And it's so much so that they want to take away everyone else's pain and suffering and take it on themselves. That pink represents this sort of self-love. So when I get pink spirit guides specifically, those are the guides that do the same thing that you do for other people for you. So they promote your self-love. They promote your self-worth. They are the ones that are giving back to you and trying to take your pain and suffering in the same way that you are trying to do it for everyone else.
For me, pink, it deals with unconditional love. So it's that love that you'd be able to gain from understanding more about like your heart chakra. So the blue, it transcends sympathy and empathy. It's no matter what, you have this caring nature towards yourself, this person, this place, this thing, regardless of the actions or past or things that have happened to you or unto you, because you're going to give that back in a different way. Pink spirit guides are super fun. A lot of times they are very outgoing, I would say, because I don't know, there's a pink spirit guide that I talked to a couple weeks ago, and she was very outgoing because she needs to put that energy and activity into the person that she helps guide to help her feel that sort of love and unconditional emotional empathy all the time. So it's kind of cool. But I don't know, that's my perception of pink. It's just love, no matter what.
Okay, white. White for me deals with the association of like visible light or white light. So what makes up visible light or white light is all the colors of the rainbow. So all of those come together and create white light. So a lot of times white energy usually deals with adaptability, because you're able to like synthesize all of these colors together to create this balanced white light. So you are also able to have the balance and control over each one of these colors, which each one of the colors have different associations to your life that we're talking about right now. So you are adaptable to those sort of things. When you have white spirit guides, usually there's a lot of things that encompass that, and they are helping you to adapt to certain things in regards to each one of these colors. So you may be, if you have white spirit guides, you may be one of those people that have a lot going on in your head, in the sense of you don't know where to start in a story, or you pick up things very easily, like you're very adaptable to change, or that sort of thing. So what is white for you?
White for me is not necessarily adaptability, but it's comfort and it's healing. Because people have asked us, like, how do I balance my chakras? How do I balance my auras? And one of the things that one of our spiritual guides helped us understand is that there isn't balance in stability of something being the same or not changing or in equal values. Stability is found in the ebb and flow of things. So for you to be able to have balance or healing energy, you have to be able to have all of the colors working in different capacities, or all of your auras, whatever you want to associate them as, the energy colors, to manifest in that healing and balanced way. So usually when I see spirit guides that are white or have white energy, they're very calming. They're very balanced. They're very wise. And it's sort of this ethereal. Some people will say that the universal frequency of life is Om, which is why we have that mantra. And for me, white spirit guides give off that frequency of Om. And it's just like super quiet and super balanced and lovely.
Okay, brown spirit guides, or brown energy. So for brown, for me, that is similar. So all the colors coming together, but it's coming together in a more muddied down way. So that is where things are not in balance to create the white energy. But at the same time, brown can be grounding, but a lot of times you're having a hard time maintaining or adapting to certain situations, and it's just becoming heavy instead of groundedness. So it's more so that you need groundedness, and you are being almost like overtaken or feel overwhelmed by all the things going on in your life.
Brown for me is actually different. That's really funny. I like that your perception is different than mine. And it's going to be different for you too. That's why we're not like telling you what the internet says about colors, because there's some ideas of thought that all colors mean like a standard set of things, but I don't think that's how it works. But anyways, brown for me is actually groundedness, because my brain works like, oh, it's a rock, it's the earth, it's grounded. But like rewind back to when I was talking about green, how green is being grounded and knowing that you're connected to everything else. Brown for me is being grounded in yourself, in being alone, that oneness. It's sort of that page card or the hermit card. It's like page and hermit. It's that introspective quiet time that you need in order to sort of just put yourself in the mud and be like, I don't want to think about anything else, because right now the only thing I need to think about is me. So when spirit guides come forward for me and they're brown, it's because they're going to help you with that introspective, retrospective, like, I don't know, backlog of information for you to help you process that and become more solid in who you are before you move forward.
Okay, black. So for me, black is all the things that you would like to keep hidden. So that usually isn't in association to trauma, things that you don't want to see in association to yourself, or like people like to use the word shadow work. Your shadow are the things that you don't want to see. So usually when you have black spirit guides, they are a lot of times dealing with things that you have dissociated from, and in a very like, you do not remember certain chunks of your life sort of dissociation, like it is gone. Because we're going to go to the next one, which is gray. Gray is similar, but it's kind of like more fuzzy, like it's still there, but black is like you want it gone. So when you get black spirit guides that come forward, they for a period of your time helped you to dissociate, and that is a helpful thing for your brain to be able to deal with that amount of trauma. But they also come back and help you deal with those things that were dissociated, and help you to deal with the side effects of dissociation in and of itself. So, black.
I don't think I've really thought about this before. I don't talk to a lot of black spirit guides or get black as a color very much. during my readings. For me, black feels like if you were to run your hand on like ice. So for me, I feel like black would deal with reflection, because sometimes things seem bigger in the dark, if that makes sense, bigger than they really are. It's something that I've been thinking about recently. Like, have you ever just sat in your house and during the daytime it looks one way, but then in the nighttime it looks different? If you just like sit on your couch in your living room and turn off the light and you're like, things look different. For me, if things look bigger, I don't know why you'd think it would be the opposite, but that's not it. So for me, I would say black has to deal with reflection and seeing things in a different light, no pun intended, because it's, you have to change your perspective of things and then realize that in the daytime things might look one way, but in the nighttime things look different. So it's just a reflection of reflecting on things, but a reflection of things themselves. Sorry, I'm just listening. Yeah, black just deals with reflection and perspective, changing perspectives of that one thing looks one way, but it can also look another.
Okay, gray. Gray for me, I usually view it as like static. So it's kind of like when the TV is on static, there's not much going on. So it's at that sort of level of dissociation. It is two things coming together. Again, it's white and black coming together. And that is bringing light to dissociation. So there is a little bit there, but it's still not something that you can grasp. It's still a way of protecting the mind from being overwhelmed by things. For example, I have a gray and red spirit guide, and he deals with a part of my life that is very dissociated, but there are parts that I remember that still bother me. So he, as a spirit guide, is helping me to feel safe and secure by going through these gray tendencies, which is the fogginess of stuff. So it's very much a fog, a static, that sort of thing. Gray.
This is actually fun because I've never talked to a gray spirit guide before, and I did like 2 weeks ago during a Zoom reading, and this person's spirit guide was like literally fog. They showed me that he was like fog in the trees during like twilight, and it was interesting because like brown spirit guides, this gray spirit guide with the gray energy sort of felt the same way, but a little bit different. So how I said brown spirit guides make me feel like encapsulated, grounded, of just me, myself, and I, a stick in the mud, but necessary. This gray spirit guide gave me the same grounded feeling, but with an uplifted, sort of like when you see a bird, like, you ever seen seagulls? I'm sure someone's seen a seagull, or like a vulture. They usually glide a lot, but seagulls in particular, they just like go like this. They look like marionettes almost when they catch an updrift underneath their wings and they just like come back and then move forward. It's really weird. So that sort of like uplifting movement of going forward. So it's very calm, it's very cool, it's very balanced, very much like a white spirit guide, but it's also moving forward with a different sort of energy of slow progress. And it was just pretty interesting that it's grounded but uplifting all at the same time. So that's the sort of feelings that I get when I feel gray and perceive gray spirit guides.
Okay, last color is gold. For me, gold is spiritual healing. So when you have gold in your life, it is because you are healing it from the outside and in. Usually when you get spirit guides that are gold spirit guides, they are highly intense. They are loud, they are they don't do things in a passive way. It's very like interconnected, very, like I said, it's very loud. They are not like avoidant in any way. It's dealing with something head on. So gold.
Gold for me is similar. It is that super healing energy. It's like white but magnified to a zillion. So gold is like those rays of sunshine that come through the clouds. It's for you. Like when you grab those like water enhancer thingies like Mio or whatever, and instead of like putting it in water, you just like squeeze it into your mouth and you're like, ah, I feel it, it's coursing through my veins. That is what gold spirit guides are like. Sometimes I've talked to gold spirit guides and they're very much like higher vibrational white spirit guides with that balanced healing energy, but they can be very intense. You really like their healing energy is palatable. You can physically feel it. It's heavy, but in an uplifting, high vibrational way.
So I usually have a hard time telling the difference between gold and yellow spirit guides. And it's essentially yellow spirit guides deal with like emotional intelligence, like I said, and gold spirit guides usually are the healing of those emotions. So it's kind of like the shiny Pokemon version of yellow. It's just intensifying or dealing with those emotions head on. So with synesthesia, we are able to use these colors and our abilities to pick up on these synesthesia things in order to talk to souls. So the way that I like to explain mediumship is you are using the way in which you think or process information to talk to souls or able to pick up psychic information. So because we as mediums deal with like synesthesia sort of things, a lot of times spirit will use that to communicate information to us. So the way that it usually works for me, because clairvoyant information is interesting for me, a lot of times I don't trust it because I'm so creative in the way that I think that it's hard for me to decipher the difference between, am I making this up, or is this actually how it looks? Because I'm the type of person that is, if you say imagine an apple, I'm the type of person that's like, well, I can imagine a dragon face on the apple, I can imagine it with a tail, I can imagine it like 20 sizes bigger than I am. So it's hard for me to be like, okay, this is what it actually looks like, because my brain puts all this creativity into it. So I don't rely on visual information as much. I rely more on feeling information and the synesthesia from clairaudient information. So a lot of times, soul, spirit, whatever, will emit a certain frequency, and that frequency translates to color and patterns. So how it looks will tell me things, and also the color, like we just described, are going to explain different things. So if I have a soul coming forward, a lot of times I don't even need to see them. I will feel their presence, I will feel if they're male or female, and I will feel their personality, and then I will get a color associated to what it is that I need from them, what they're communicating. So if we're having like a discussion about someone that you know and they're giving me like a red color, that's going to tell me things about them in the association of red deals with safety and security. So this person doesn't feel safe and secure to communicate things. They have a lot of restriction that is preventing that. So that may lead to defensiveness, it may lead to anger, it may lead to this like big wall energy in association to like opening up. They're more avoidant. So that is what red tells me, but it's like red in association to other clairs gives me more information about why the color is red. So things like that happen, and I can use that to talk to spirit guides, and they tell me this is why we're here for them. I can use it in association to talking to souls, like I just described. It can be aura colors, so it can tell me about you. Even just emitting certain frequencies, so like everything has a frequency. I have a frequency, that's why I have an aura. The table in front of us has a frequency, and I can get synesthesia visions of that as well. So the table in front of us, the top of it is wood, and it emits more of an orange-red tone frequency, and the bottom is made out of metal, and that creates a different frequency that is more associated to blue and green. So with my synesthesia, I'm able to use it to do all of these different things associated to mediumship. Or even I will be able to see sounds, physical sounds. So that can also be tied back to like if I'm in a haunted location and someone is like walking around, like a soul is walking around, I can see where in association to where the sound's coming from. I can see a color and pattern based upon where they're walking in a space. So because this is the way in which I think, I have a very synesthesia way of thinking, souls, spirits, psychic information can use that to help me understand certain pieces of information. It's almost like a language. So how does it work for you in your mediumship?
So for me personally, I'm very clairvoyant and clairsentient. It's like the heaviest clairs that I use. And recently it's been hard when I'm speaking to someone, whether it be a soul in heaven or spirit or someone's spirit guide. Those souls, spirits will convey emotions to me, whether that be the emotion of the person that's in heaven or spirit, how they feel about you, It's usually a lot of love, but it can be very overwhelming. Or your spirit guides will make me feel how you feel on the other side of the screen regarding a person that I'm talking to for you, or situations in your life that have happened, are happening, or are going to happen. So again, that can be super overwhelming. But I've asked them, because as mediums and just you as your own self, you can ask your spirit guides to mediate information for you. So I've asked mine, try not to make the clairsentience so overwhelming because it's hard for me. And what they've done instead is use these colors, the synesthesias, to convey information and lessen my clairsentient feelings. Because if someone shows me the color yellow for you, that means that that's something that you're going through right now with your emotional intelligence and the expression of yourself. So how you feel about yourself can be conveyed in that yellow, but also ways in which you can go about solving a problem. Say, for example, you ask me about your job and your spirit guides show me a color brown. That brown not only conveys to me how you feel about your job, but also the steps in which that you can take to relieve yourself of feeling a certain way, or just a way to look at the problem or situation in a different light. So it really helps encompass a lot of things and takes a lot of emotional taxingness, I guess, off of me, and still conveys not only the same amount of information, but even more in a much more quick and concise way.
So synesthesia, like I said, is kind of like a language that spirit can use to communicate with us based upon our ways in which we think. So if you guys also experience a synesthesia, because I know a lot of people may not even realize that they are doing it, because I did not realize I had synesthesia, because people don't generally talk about seeing colors when they hear sounds or any other ways synesthesia can work. Let us know down in the comments, do you have hearing synesthesia where you see colors when you hear sounds? Or do you have feeling synesthesia? Do you have synesthesia associated to time and space, like the person that I read? You can also have synesthesia with like taste or smell, and you get stimulus that doesn't make sense with how you are getting that stimulus. So let us know down in the comments. If you guys like this type of content, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Taste synesthesia is fun. You can't tell me that the blue high C juice boxes don't taste like the color blue. You can't tell me that. We are your PsycKicks. You can't. It's just perfect. It's all blue.